Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And what do you do when your D&D character is smarter than you?
Jump down the description below to sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
All right, so you came up with the ideas for this video. I don't know if this was one you found in a conversation or was something you were thinking about.
I saw, there's always loads of conversations that go on in the D&D 5e Facebook group, and anytime I see something that looks like there's chatter, I bring it up to you guys and say, hey, is this something you want to talk about? And there's people who always debate, how do you handle stats that are, high, or how do you handle stats that are low? And, the topic kind of, moved and twisted and eventually went away from the concept that was written and became something all entirely new.
So the problem is never with your physical stats because there's rules for that. It's covered. It's not really a big deal. When you're talking about stats that are higher than your own or even lower than your own, mechanically, it just changes things in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Mental stats, if they're lower than yours, when we're talking wisdom, intelligence, charisma, they're lower than yours, that's not really a problem either, I don't think. I think it's a lot easier to play down.
It is definitely easier to play down, but it's not necessarily easy. You have to really work at it. But it is definitely harder to play up.
Nigh impossible to play up at sometimes, because I've had characters that are smarter than me and dumber than me, and it is far easier to play dumber. I think it's harder to play dumber when you're trying to game the system and you want to win D&D, right? But if you're willing to mess up what's going on, be the monkey wrench in your party's plans and that kind of stuff, it's easy to play down. I do it all the time with Jogo.
Right.
And you know what, and the way the players have responded to that is they've changed how they interact around Jogo. They don't if there's a plan that they don't want mucked up, they will not give him certain information because they know he's going to be rash and just react to the information as he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates cool dynamics in the party. And it's like, I don't get mad at them for keeping secrets from Jogo or anything like that, because Dave, the player, understands that, Jogo's going to muck up whatever they do because it's what he does. He doesn't know any better.
You've set a limitation on the character during creation. And you happen to be in that particular game, you happen to be playing with a stellar cast.
Yeah.
Now, I had a character many years ago. You were the DM, and Ted, as a player, definitely wants to do role playing. With the things that I've done, I have leadership qualities, and when you're not necessarily playing with a horde of excellent role players, they can push me, whether I want to be or not, into a leadership role. And I played a character who had horrible mental stats. And I think out of the three, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, they ranged between an 8 and a 6. And yet he was still in the leader role. He was still supposed to be the tactician. It was horrible. I looking back, campaign was a lot of fun. My character was the only one that survived, but from a standpoint of what I should have done,
You played him wrong.
I played him absolutely wrong.
Because he could have been the leader, but the way to be the leader and have a bunch of dump stats is to just be bad at it.
Yes, I should have made poor choices. I should have been a bully and far more, brutish and aggressive. It would have fit with the character.
And made horrible plans.
But I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
This was years and years ago. And
in your defense, I was not as good a DM as I am now,
mm-hmm.
and I would have been very punitive for that instead of having fun with it.
Right.
And just murdered you guys sooner.
So, that character, he wound up surviving while the rest of the party was annihilated.
But so in my point, in hindsight, yeah, it could have been different, but I think it's that's so much easier than, oh, I'm playing a wizard and he's got an 18 intelligence. Well, that's like a genius and I am not a genius.
I might be smart, but by smart meaning I'm above average, not, I'm genius level. I can't handle, that kind of stuff. And, so how do you wind up playing characters? What kind of things do you do with a high charisma? I think that's the easiest of the three, because it's either a you have an aura that people respond to positively, or that you're just, you know, beautiful, handsome, attractive. People acknowledge you when you have a high charisma in one way, shape, or form.
It's also the easy to game in the system as well,
Hmm.
as far as you're going to do really well on your charisma checks. So it's okay for the DM to go, oh well, he's doing good on his charisma checks, so he's flubbing the role playing, and like that part isn't up to snuff, but it's forgivable because like in theory the character would be doing it better than the player is
Hmm.
capable of doing it, and it's completely okay.
And since it is a game and there's mechanics for it, there's sometimes you have to have allowances for that. I I'm never going to allow someone to just be like, yeah, I want to convince this guy to let me walk past. Okay, well, what are you saying?
And
Like,
make a decision. But in the case where you have a high charisma character and maybe not a high charisma player, then you can be like, you can go, well, you can gauge them on their effort
yes.
instead of their actual performance. And again, you can also let them enhance it with die rolls as
Hmm.
well,
Exactly.
and that can compensate. Now, wisdom and intelligence, now that's completely different because that's about knowledge.
So that's about knowledge and about making the right choices. Wisdom, the wise. Are you doing things that you should or should not be doing? And some of that does bleed over into intelligence. If you're a studious character and you've studied dragons, going into a dragon's lair is not a wise idea if you're a weak group of adventurers. Let's not, rush the gun here. Should we really be doing this? You can have characters who are making poor choices, but this is really a thing for the DM where you have to step in and say, all right, your character might advise against that as opposed to advising for it.
Right. So when it comes to high intelligence and high wisdom stats in the party, there's several ways to combat this. Because maybe you're not quite as up to snuff as much as your character is. Well, one of the ways is preparation, right? Is you as the player prepare things that either you say or just so you can like randomly spout off really smart things, or have quips that you throw out there without having to think about them because you got a list of 10 that you just pull from, or you have a index cards full of facts that you're like blah blah blah, the manticore dung smells like, or whatever it is about, right? So it's just there. And then there's some other things that we've kind of like talked about before we even started this video as well.
And that's where, when you are looking to do something, you can ask the DM, hey, is this does this sound wise? Does this sound like an intelligent plan? Is this something that my character might think of? And you can even go so far as, if you've got the character that's dumped intelligence but is actually smart, putting out, really great plans, you can just be like, okay, well, I'm the smart guy, even though I'm not. I'm going to put forth this plan as my own, and it all works.
Yeah, so consensus from the table, right? If you have a bunch of people, working together, they're generally going to be smarter than the individual. So why not let the collective, put out the information and have it come through one character?
The collective feeds the brain.
Yeah, pretty much. Or again, you could have the DM could kind of help and coach you a little bit. This is not going to work with a gotcha DM. A
Right.
gotcha DM isn't going to care. He's going to want to know exactly what you're doing and wait for his moment to get you, unfortunately. So you do need the right kind of DM for this to work. The other thing is letting your character make a lot of skill checks and your DM feeding you information based off of those, or possibly even maybe your DM gives you campaign specific information that you just get to keep in front of you because your character kind of knows these things. And maybe at times you might even refer to it so to remind you to look at this thing if it's coming up, because your character would know about that.
So there's always these little tools, these little helpful hints that you can have either as preparation or consults with the DM that's going to allow you to play something that is actually out of your league because you're not as smart as your character.
Yeah. So, the biggest thing probably is just preparation. Is you as the player take a lot of time to prepare for certain things and maybe contingencies that your character, but you've done the preparation, but maybe your character doesn't do preparation, and this is like the stuff he comes up with on the fly.
On the fly.
Right. That makes it makes him seem so much smarter than he really is. So these are ways to help you role play those higher stats that you might not have. I'm curious to know how you guys do it in your games. We got a place for that. That's down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way by supporting us on Patreon.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.